welcome at the next session of a Transformer Exploitation Café. These are interactive sessions that we have recorded with our experts to present to you key outputs, insights, and knowledge of the 2 years that we have learned throughout the Transformer project, and to help regions to create strategies and accelerate their journey towards net zero transition. These sessions are meant to be interactive and learning. So sit back, enjoy your coffee, perhaps during a break at work, and enjoy this learning experience. We hope that we can support you better in your sustainable regional transformation. As you have probably already checked, we have several of Transformer Café sessions. The first one was on quantitative regional assessment framework. We then presented the matchmaking toolkit. We also talked about the user forum, and we also talked about the knowledge hub. Today, we're going to talk about the Transition Readiness Assessment Tool. I have two leading experts with me here today. Georgia Ayafantopoulou, who is a research director and deputy director at CERT, and Maria Constantinidou, who is a research associate at CERT. Welcome. So, before we dive into the actual tool, let's talk a bit more and get a brief overview of the Transformer project. The Transformer project is a project funded by the Horizon Europe framework, and it focuses on facilitating transition of regions from fossil fuel dependence to zero carbon economies. We focus on 4 different regions, one in Germany, the Ruhr area, one in Poland, Lower Silesia, one in Greece, Western Macedonia, and one in Italy, Emilia-Romagna. These 4 regions have piloted solutions and tools throughout the Transformer project that help them design and implement systemic transformation frameworks. They were using the very innovative Transition Superlabs methodology. Transition Superlabs are basically hubs that help us develop and test different portfolios of low carbon and cost-effective, technologically proven solutions in a real-life setting on a large scale of the region. It includes milestones for implementation, but also financing and funding. And last but not least, the key point of the Transition Superlab model is that it integrates multidisciplinary expertise from different stakeholders, universities, municipalities, businesses, and civil society, and creates a very collaborative environment. So today, we're going to be talking about how these Transition Superlabs have actually incorporated the Transition Readiness Assessment Tool. Can you please give us a short overview to start with what the Transition Readiness Assessment Tool is and how does it fit within the broader Transformer project?
one of the things that are missing in ecosystems and in the regional ecosystems is that okay, what represents and the major elements of ready to transition ecosystem at the regional level. What the region should have, what the ecosystem should have, what are the characteristics of such an ecosystem that is really ready to achieve a transition to climate neutrality through innovation and through cross-sectorial collaboration. And here there has been a work in the Transformer, which increases the value of already existing works on mapping characteristics of the ecosystem. So right now we have mapped the transition ready ecosystem with 6 main elements and 22 sub-elements, so characteristics. So the ready regional ecosystem for the transition is the one that has quite strong regulation and has a very organized economy, is the one where the transparency and the cross-sectorial collaboration already exists. So there are already efforts putting together, making synergies between the different sectors which are active in the region. We need an ecosystem that is very much, let's say, trusting the way of being open among them, trusting ecosystems, try to open and also to have adopted the green economy principles. We don't say that everything has been achieved, but we need to have a region where the culture and where all the stakeholders, the economical stakeholders also they trust and they are ready to go to make the steps toward more green operations. Also, we need some minimum capacity in this, let's say, fusion in the governance and also in the decision making. So that is a different way of structuring the regions. This is happening right now. We have the rigid organizational hierarchy scheme of regions, but now at the regional government, we see different ways of approaching the innovation, of achieving the synergy between the different sectors. So this is a characteristics that the region is ready. Then we need the civil society and stakeholders, let's say, committed to the change. We need definitely some infrastructure and technology existing. If you really don't have energy source powers, or we have not even changed the way of towards climate, towards green energy, this is a minimum thing that we need to have. So the level of infrastructure tools that already exist in the region is also a parameter. And finally, overall, all these are characteristics that can apply to all sectors. And as you see in this slide, we have the mobility, the energy, the agriculture, the industry, and the circular economy sectors that have been checked through the Transformer project that can efficiently mapped through this approach.
To add one more thing on what Georgia has already explained about the Transition Readiness Tool, it is important here to highlight that the tool can be used by all the regions independently of let's say the volume and the number of data sets they have. And this is one unique selling point of the tool. So the Transition Readiness Tool consists of 2 levels. Depending on the regional data availability. So the first one includes a really small set of questions that can be easily answered by the regions. And then we have the second level of the tool that includes the full set of the questions, the qualitative questions. And this level require a broader knowledge of different regional aspects, as Georgia explained them previously. But when the regions answered the second level, they had the opportunity to have, let's say, more detailed results in terms of transition readiness score.
Thank you very much. That was very interesting. I would like to also understand better who is the tool actually designed for. So who can get the transition readiness score, and how does it help them to serve this and to fulfill their needs in the region?
Thank you, Veronica, for this question, because this question gives me the chance to highlight, let's say, the holistic approach of the tool. So the Transition Readiness Assessment Tool is designed for not only for the 4 TSL regions that participate in the project, but also for different stakeholders, regional stakeholders from different sectors that would like to acquire an overall image of the current situation of their region, and of course for the follower region across Europe that would like to follow the Transition Super Lab approach and try to accelerate and speed up their transition towards climate neutrality. So the tool, as well as the Transformer Knowledge Hub, can be used by different target groups and is designed for different stakeholders within the region. So the Transition Readiness Assessment Tool, along with the results about the transition readiness level, help the TSLs, the regions, to identify their weak points. And with this, they have the opportunity to effectively co-design with the stakeholders the possible transition pathways to achieve the climate neutrality. But the Transition Readiness Tool is not meant to be used once in the beginning for identifying and co-designing the transition pathways, but it is mainly an iterative process. So the tool has been designed as an iterative reassessment process that can be implemented by the regions in order to examine at the later stage during the transition process how much effective were the transition enabling activities that they have already performed, and if they have to adjust some of these activities, and if they have to redesign some of their strategies in order to speed the transition towards climate neutrality.
I would like to add to what has already been presented. This one-stop shop point of understanding the different characteristics of a region that is capable to transition, and also the assessment of the readiness is very important for the different regional authorities and the different representatives of the sectors of the capital helix contributing to this assessment. And the tool is giving also the possibility to make iterations, which is very important. The actors of the different sectors and the actors of the regional government and of the capital helix involved in this process of transitioning, they need to be engaged long-term in this process, and they need to understand that if we contribute in a first step, they can also assess progress. So what the Transition Readiness Assessment Tool is giving the possibility of this iterative assessment. So you assess the situation now, and you can assess the situation in a later stage with new things that has been done, and we can record any development, improvement or not in this transition readiness for the region to climate neutrality.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to see that the Transition Readiness Assessment Tool can be actually used really by all target audiences. Could you please walk us through the main features of the tool? I think it will be very interesting to our viewers and listeners.
Yes, sure. In fact, the transition readiness tool is really friendly to users. So it's really easy to go there. You can see the link here. You can go there, visit it, and you can just play with the different questions. So try to answer the questions in order to see the results of your region. So the first step is to go there and fill the survey with the qualitative questions. You can choose the first level with the small set of the questions, or the second one with the extended set of the questions. So as soon as you answer the questions, you will get your total score. So your total transition readiness score at the region level, but also in at sub-element and element level. When you will be at this stage, you will be able to see some really interesting visual representation, some interesting graphs, which reflect the comparison of your scores with other regions across Europe. Step 4, and I think this is the most important output that the regions can extract from the tool, is the identification of the weak points of the region. So the region is able to see its score at the different levels and identify which are the weaker, let's say, points in comparison with the other regions. And what the transition readiness tool offers here is that for these weak points, there is a specific recommendation for the region. These recommendations are always linked to the different steps and activities of the transition model and the roadmap. So the region is able to see what they can do in each specific step and of the roadmap and the model in order to increase their transition readiness level that is related to this specific weak point.
As we have already heard before, there is a lot of platforms and a lot of tools that address the transition to net zero. Could you maybe point out how does the transition readiness tool differ, and how does it address the unique needs of the users that maybe other tools do not cover?
As we all know, there are different maybe tools to assess, let's say, readiness level of the region for different aspects. But what the Transition Readiness Assessment Tool of Transformer does is that it includes this cross-sectorial approach of what the transition ready ecosystem consists of. And also, although it is recommended to be used during the first phase of the transition process for creating possible pathways to achieve the transition superlab vision, it is also, as I said before, an iterative process. So the region acquire an initial image in the beginning of the transition process about its current situation, but then during the transition process, the region can revisit the tool and reassess again its situation. So this continuous learning is crucial because it gives opportunity to the region to adapt its transition strategy in order to accelerate the transition towards climate neutrality. And with this way, the region ensures that it remains on course to achieve the desired transition outcomes and maximize the impact of the efforts of the transition enabling activities that are performing through the different, let's say, steps and activities of the process. By systematically analyzing different dimensions of readiness, as I said before, this cross-sectorial approach, the tool fosters informed decision-making, targeted intervention, and the alignment of transition superlab efforts with regional needs. So not so much focused on a specific sector, but try to combine, try to have the stakeholders of different sectors collaborating in order to find all together the pathways, the transition pathways of the region to achieve the climate neutrality. One more important point here is that the Transition Readiness Assessment Tool, the results of the tool can be combined and should be combined with the quantitative regional assessment framework that was also developed within the project. I think you can find more information in the related World Café. So the results of these two frameworks can be combined in the beginning of the transition process in order to provide to the region a more integrated overview of its needs, both from qualitative and quantitative perspective.
The Transformer project has been a pilot project, and we had identified the 4 regions that were participating in it. And so do you have any experiences with the regions and with the follower regions from the user forum when they have been using the Transition Readiness Assessment Tool? And can you maybe give us some feedback or lessons learned that could illustrate the impact that this tool could have on the region?
Well, let me add to this. Somebody can say, okay, what that means 64 and 74 and 65 and 42, what that means. This is why we said the benchmarking capability of the tool is very important. So you just not look what is your result, but also how it is related with other regions and the regions with the same characteristics like you. So that result was really a surprising result about the transition readiness score, but is also very much related with the willingness and the commitment of the actors to go through the transition. So we have seen through the projects that actors that regions like the Western Macedonia, there is a big potential for transition, and there are really quite some support for this to happen. However, the conditions are at a level that needs more rational and more support in order to increase the readiness for the transition. And this is why this region is the one that is asking very much for the transition living lab creation. Is very committed to create the ecosystem governing structure with the transition, which is the transition super lab, making coalition of the different other initiatives there in order to make them to achieve the transitions. So we have seen in different regions people saying that, okay, we have tried a lot, but we have not achieved to a level. So then they have seen their results following the systemic mapping of the readiness, and they realize that indeed there have been results that can be appreciated, and that their readiness level is quite at a good degree, and they can go on. So this mapping this readiness level through a systemic approach, a systematic approach, as we do through this tool, is giving it to those that sometimes they are not, let's say, positive, or they're not optimistic, not positive. Positive is everybody, not optimistic, for this to understand that really there is the power to go further. So that is really a very good result and very good outcome of the usage of the readiness tool. And if you see also the other diagrams where we see all the weaknesses per region, then indeed there is the basis for creating discussions between the stakeholders, agreeing or disagreeing, and then achieving common understanding, and following and quickly making decisions for what they will do next.
And also here we have some interesting results about the weak points of each region. So in Western Macedonia, the weak points are related to cross-sectorial planning, interdepartmental coordination, and stakeholder engagement. In Lower Silesia, we saw low levels in public investment and in region innovation capacity. In the rural area, we have low levels in the region economic development and socioeconomic well-being, but also here we saw that the region of rural area faced a lot of problems from existing veto players. And this is why some of these veto players didn't participate in the coalition building processes that we are trying to establish during the project. The good news is that for Emilia-Romagna, we didn't identify any weak points. So we can say that the region of Emilia-Romagna is almost ready to start the transition process and to implement successfully the transition superlab approach. As I said before, one of the highlights of the tool is that it provides recommendation for each specific sub-element that the regions scores low. And the recommendations are related to how the region can improve the current situation of this specific sub-element in order to increase its transition readiness.
Thank you. We know that some of our listeners are coming from regions. So based on the experience that the pilot regions had with the Transition Readiness Assessment Tool, are there any recommendations you would give to our listeners, also coming from other regions, on how can they accelerate their net zero transition and how they can actually use the tool to help them do that?
In fact, it is very highly recommended for the ecosystems at the regions and being initiated even of the regional governors to initiate this process of assessing the readiness of the region for transition to climate neutrality. It shows that there is a willingness to go through a realistic approach. And it also helps to make the first steps for creating this cross-sectorial ecosystem. Because when you put a tool in the front of people that you believe they're competent to become to this cross-sectorial dialogue, immediately you create these cross-sectorial committees that are needed. If you want to achieve transition through cross-sectorial collaboration. So the tool is giving the opportunity for people to come together from different sectors, created these committees, and then when you start with the real good knowledge from what is your starting point, everybody contributing in a very good way in this vision creation. Okay, if I know where I'm standing, then I can, if I see the benchmarks, if I know where are my weaknesses, which is all of this information that is offered by the transition tool, then of course I can create a clear vision for my next period and also identify where are my quick wins for my transition to climate neutrality. So that is the first recommendation. Use the tool in order to create these committees and to have a clear vision and continue to that. Then through these committees, the next step that is very important for the transition is to keep the actors with you. And in order to keep the actors with you, you need to create value proposition. You need the regions needs to say that, okay, we will develop this transition super lab with the participation of all these representatives of the cross-sectorial committees. And for each one of them, they need to create a value proposition for them to be together. Otherwise, already existing structures, they would go independently. And they are already there before the transition super lab be initiated and before the process of the cross-sectorial collaboration for transition to climate neutrality be initiated. So each one needs to have a value proposition. For each one of the actors, we need to give an answer to the question why they should be together in this process, and also identify what are the conflicts and try to focus on applying conflict resolution mechanism and identify the veto players in this process. For all these problems to be solved, there are tools in the Knowledge Hub, and you can follow another tutorial and see how you can use them. Finally, the more important thing is to have a neutral party that is governing this process and that everybody recognize the knowledge of this party and also the non-conflicting interest of this party. And this party should apply a transparent process with all the steps of the transition living lab creation and operation. the stakeholders, they will be engaged gradually. You start with the committee, and then you create the ambassadors of your effort. So the members of the committee, when they understood that there is a real process with everybody being equally accepted there, then the members, they will be the ambassadors of this process. Then you will have network of networks. We have experienced that in the regions of the different of our different pilot implementations around Europe, that we had very quickly increasing the number of the participants and the number of the engaged stakeholders. We need to have a regular contact with the stakeholders for the transition super labs, secure the balanced representation. There are also tools in the Knowledge Hub that guide what will be the best composition and balance of these representatives in these committees, and also simplify the participation process and simplify and so quickly the quick wins and the results of this process. And as I said, for these type of steps in the Knowledge Hub, there are tools and methodologies that can be quickly applied. If you do that, it starts a little bit in a strange and bizarre way. It grows very quickly, and at that moment, the regions believe that they're going to lose the control of the productivity of this process. But then with the tools of the Knowledge Hub, things, they're balanced well.
Great, thank you very much. As we know that the Transformer project is ending, is there any next steps that you have foreseen for the Transition Readiness Assessment Tool afterwards? And can the regions use it even after the project ends? Thank you very much. We are at the end of the last Transformer Exploitation Cafe, and I would like to thank to our experts from CERT, Georgia and Maria, for the great interactive and informative session. I'd like to thank to all of you for your attention. If you would like to know more about any of the tools and outputs that we have presented, please don't hesitate to go to our website, transformerproject.eu, or follow us on social media. So thank you and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you all, and thank you, Veronica, for organizing this very interesting World Cafe. Really enjoying.